Let's paint a vase of red roses for Mother's Day. I'm taking a mop brush and doing up and down strokes with a little bit of peach and white paint and blending it to look something like this. This is an 11 by 14 canvas board. And then taking a mop brush with some dark brown paint, maybe lighten it up with a little bit of that peach. I'm going to do some back and forth strokes at the bottom of the canvas. That's going to be your table. You can add a shadow if you want in the middle there, but make sure it's dry because we're going to paint a vase with a medium round brush. This is about size 6 or size 8, but with some white paint I'm going to do a dot on my table and then 2 large curved lines down to that dot. So it looks like a letter U, but I am going to point it a little bit more towards that dot. And then because it is glass, I'm going to do a couple expression strokes around the outside edges there to look like the light is reflecting. There's so many different style vases, but I am going to give this one a foot and some expression strokes on there. And since it's a big vase, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Perfect. Okay, with a detail brush, let's do some stems to our roses. This is about a size 0 detail brush. I'm taking some dark green and light green and just making some lines going up through the top of the vase, starting at the bottom of the U. Notice how they aren't all perfectly straight, but they're crossing over each other. That's what happens when you put stems in a vase. Now taking an artist sponge with some dark and light green, we're going to cover that weird top edge of the vase and covering the tops of those stems and just bounce in some leafy texture. Keep bouncing it out in more of a circular shape, but make it pretty dense like that. And then we're going to add a second type of leaf with a fan brush, taking mostly dark green. I'm going to put that on the side of the brush and press down and pull up wherever I want a leaf to go, just like a stamp. We're going to have some poking out in the middle and on the outside edges. And for even more color, I'm going to take some white on the sea sponge again and just bounce in some baby's breath. Oh, I did too much, so I'm going to add some more leaves in there. All right, with a round brush and white paint now, we're going to start some roses. I am just going to do swirls. Make sure the green is dry before you do this because you want the white to pop. And each swirl is going to be a guideline to make your petal shapes because roses have different layers. This will give you the pattern. So I'm filling it up and then taking the same brush with some pink and red. See, here's your guideline. I'm just going to do smiley face shapes around that curve. Each part of the swirl gets a little smile, and it doesn't have to be exactly fitting inside the swirl. Don't think too hard about it. Like on the outside edges, the curves can go out from the edge, but always stick along that swirl shape and fill it in like that. Do that to each rose. Don't worry if the white is still showing because we are going to add a couple more layers. Roses are all about the layers, as you know. So I'm going to take some dark red then on the round brush, and almost like in between each of those strokes, I'm going to add some dark red. See how the white is getting filled in? I'm sticking with that swirl shape, but it's adding more layers and more depth as you do this. Now, they can be overlapping, so don't try to fit them exactly. My best advice is don't think too hard about it. Just loosely go around in that swirl guideline, and they will start to take shape. And I'm going to do that to every single one. Now, what I like to do, there's usually a little bit of white still showing. I'm going to take a third color. I'm going to take some bright red now and just lightly fill in any of those white spots that got left over. That adds even more dimension, and I think they look really, really pretty. So you can do that to each one and keep it that way. I think that's great, but I'm going to be a little bit extra and even take a tiny bit of white and add some highlights on those petals as well to make them pop. I think that also brings out the white vase as well. The vase was also very white. I wanted it to look more like a glass vase, so I'm taking some dark brown and white and adding some shading along the bottom and along the foot. Gives it a little bit more dimension. And let's have some petals that fell off on the table. I feel like you needed a little bit of something. There we go. As always, make it your own, pick your own colors. You could even do different color roses too. So I did this one. Now, there's another abstract technique that I filmed too, so I will post both tutorials. Let me know which one you see first. But if you like this tutorial, follow me for more. And if you're a mother, happy Mother's Day.